Ramon is the Chief Product Officer with Reltio and IQVIA partner with our information management and master data management solutions. Ramon brings over 25 years experience leading product management, product marketing, and corporate strategy, driving innovation through a connected customer 360 experience with data management and data strategy at the core. And I'd also like to introduce Chetan Yavasani. Chetan is the Global Product Offering Owner for Master Data Management Solutions, responsible for leading product vision, roadmap, and execution. Chetan is an innovative global information technology leader with a track record of delivering complex technology platforms within the life sciences industry and bringing customers new and innovative offerings to meet their business objectives. Thank you both for being with us today. Chetan, I'd like to turn it over to you to get the conversation started.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Welcome all. I hope all of you are enjoying our TechIQ conference with talks from a fantastic lineup of leaders across the industry. I'm personally very excited to host this session with Ramon from Reltio. We'll talk about Enterprise MDM and the role it plays in enabling faster insights for your organization. So by definition, Enterprise MDM is about unifying data across multiple domains to generate actionable insights. Traditionally, life sciences organizations have taken an approach to master healthcare provider data, healthcare organizations, products from a commercial perspective as well as a clinical perspective to include molecules, substances, therapeutic areas, and indications. Certainly master patient data, and lastly payer. And the approach has always been about building a 360-degree view of these individual subject areas. While this approach is great, they're still leaving a lot on the table, right? So there's insights to be gained from mining the relations of the data across these various domains. Now, it's certainly easier said than done to implement an enterprise MDM. So let's look at why there are some barriers to success in this area. One, Big Bang doesn't work. Organizations struggle to balance the tactical and strategic needs, and certainly continue to find it challenging to accelerate the time to value for business teams. Business teams can no longer wait for 2 to 3 years for a grand enterprise vision to come to fruition. And the second point is there's a lack of executive sponsorship. MDM projects tend to start as a siloed initiatives within a small business unit, maybe within a market, but never with a full vision of enterprise data strategy. Lastly, the technology choices that are made, not aligned to business, have a significant impact on the enterprise MDM execution. Technology that is not business friendly, that cannot support the configuration needs of local markets, and that does not scale to the growing needs of business with changing times. And lastly, technology that doesn't support self-service capabilities, leaving a significant lag time for business teams to handle change. So let me bring in Ramon into the conversation. Ramon, thank you for being here with us today. I'm sure you've seen a fair amount of successful MDM strategies and certainly some challenging ones in the industry. So how do you see organizations overcome some of these challenges?
Thanks, Chen. It's just tremendous to be here. Thank you, everybody, for spending time with us. to address the three barriers that you so eloquently illustrated previously, let's talk about each one of them in turn. The first one, Big Bang doesn't work. Absolutely agree with that. We've seen our share over the years of attempts to just master the world, if you will. And really, rather than the Big Bang theory, most people succeed by using the theory of evolution. And what I mean by that is start quick with fast time to value in mind. This may seem counterintuitive because everybody thinks of master data management as, well, you have to get governance right, you have to get everybody on board, you've got to solicitate all the requirements of each of the individual groups before you even start executing. But in today's agile world, this is just not acceptable. The road is littered with projects of MDM initiatives where 2-3 years down the road, they still haven't realized their full outcomes because they've been trying to take on too much. So start with a quick win for fast time to value. Key in on those business requirements, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The second thing is, this is not new stuff anymore. Follow in the footsteps of others. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Partners such as IQVIA and Reltio can help you because we've seen this story in this playbook before. There's several starters in terms of the data model that you need for success that can get you 80-90% of the way there. And all of the best practices for implementing and getting started and getting quick wins are already in place. But just don't be paralyzed, right? Just do it, to use the Nike term. Expect change, and you can move ahead really, really quickly. So that's first. The second question was lack of executive sponsorship and then issues around there. How do you win executive sponsorship? Often these budgets are not really just in IT, they're part of a line of business or an initiative. So what I'm about to tell you may seem counterintuitive, but the most important thing you can do is to not push the term or the word or the three-letter acronym MDM. Because business users, number one, don't really understand MDM. It's an IT and a technology term. And number two, they may have bad associations. They may have heard, of these 3-year projects that didn't really come to fruition, and they tarred and labeled MDM as a bad thing. So align with the business problem, use their terminology and language, and this will allow you to be more successful in gaining the buy-in of the executive sponsorship. You still use MDM internally under IT because that's the market you're looking for in terms of a class of technology, but don't use that term when soliciting executive sponsorship if you can avoid it. MDM is a foundational piece of technology, but the overall business objective should be your goal. The second thing that I would say to winning executive sponsorship is getting them excited about the art of the possible. The thing with MDM traditionally has been, it's been a back office capability, and there's nothing really that a business user can see, touch, or feel in order to get excited about. At Reltio, we have a very intuitive Facebook, LinkedIn, consumer-grade user interface. And when we show that in a meeting with both IT and business together, there's this light bulb and kumbaya that all of a sudden happens because business users can relate to what they're seeing on the screen and understand how, let's say, a customer profile or a physician profile is being assembled and brought together, and how they can see themselves consuming the information and collaborating with their peers, and also inquiring to IT when there's issues with the quality of the data. And this really, really gets people excited. People lean forward during these demos in order to understand better. And instead of it just being about the technology, it's about the business problem. And then finally, which is a lead into that, aligning to the business problem, the technology, as I had described, is you have to move at the speed of business. MDM has also traditionally been labeled with the 3-year lifespan, as I said, for delivering value, but the ability to pivot when business needs to respond, COVID as an example, to different scenarios to scale the systems up and down is extremely important. The other thing is, as you move at the speed of business, you have to collaborate early and often. Business users need to know what's going on. Where am I expected to see the next value being delivered, the milestones, et cetera, et cetera. And then tie your data management and quality metrics, which are your internal measures of how the platform is delivering value to you as the IT team, to the business outcomes. So you can easily start to metricate and measure, because we've improved data quality by X percentage from a baseline, or we've licensed third-party data that has improved the information and augmented it, tie it to the business objectives and outcomes, and you'll be more successful. Back to you, Chetan.
That's great insight, Ramon. We at IQVIA are also focused on increasing the time to value, accelerating the time to value by providing industry models and accelerators to bring in data, whether it's your own internal data or external data sets. And the second point that I want to add to what you've shared is that, Enterprise MDM is certainly for everybody, whether it's you're a pre-commercial organization or a mid-sized pharma or large pharma, irrespective of where you are, it is something that all life sciences organizations can aspire to have this. And absolutely a key thing is to have business alignment. And that only increases in complexity when you're talking about regional MDM deployments or even global MDM deployments. So thank you for that. The next topic that's on everyone's mind, given in the current world we are in, how does Enterprise MDM support digital transformation journey and AI ML adoption, Ramon?
Well, that's a great question, Chen. It's digital transformation is a buzzword that's been around for a few years now, and companies again are struggling with where to begin. Enterprise master data management really forms the foundation for these types of initiatives, and really is the first thing you need to put in place before entering in a digital transformation type overall plan. Like I said before, though, you need to start quick and just go out and just do it. But you also have to bear in mind that this is a marathon, not a sprint in the context of full digital transformation. So MDM really kind of forms, you want to think of it in these terms, like a bank of your data because it's your most valuable asset. It's a central location where everybody can tap into a consistent view of the information that you're harmonizing together for the benefit of all of your digital transformation initiatives, customer experience, the ability to improve efficiency, and so on and so forth. And then the concept of multi-domain is key. You don't have to start with all of those domains, right, that Chetan listed previously, like product and payer and so forth. But what you do need is the technology that can grow with you as you enter into those different solutions and domains. And the key to this in terms of Enterprise MDM is a piece of technology called Graph. And Graph is like a connectivity layer that ties all these domains together as you begin to master them. And it's very similar to the social graph in Facebook, where Facebook can connect you to your friends, and that's your network. And LinkedIn, which has an economic graph that shows how you're connected between each of the individual people, first-degree connections, second-degree connections, in order for you to get referrals and find jobs and so on and so forth. Enterprise MDM's technologies today have essentially a commercial graph that connects everything together, that connects your HCPs and HCOs and your plans and your payers. And this is critical to improving and growing the interest of your data in your data bank. And finally, you need to bring in third-party data as needed. IQVIA certainly has those assets, and you need to leverage them in the context of your overall digital transformation initiative. The second area I'd like to talk about is scalability. Digital transformation will start small, but you'll need to rapidly then scale to the expectations of your customers and your organizations such as marketing and sales. Because as soon as you create this MDM foundation, everybody will want a piece of it. They're going to want to say, hey, if I add my data to it, what can we get out of it? If I start to think about this for clinical trials, what do we need in order to scale up and scale down? So Enterprise MDM, now pretty much defaulted to being in the cloud, should elastically scale with your requirements and essentially allow you to flexibly adapt to the business changes that I mentioned earlier. As for AI and machine learning, it's also the important foundation and critical foundation. People really want to jump into AI and machine learning right now. But without clean data, it's garbage in and garbage out. There's a little sort of joke that goes around that says data scientists spend 80% of their time cleaning the data before they can even work on it. And they spend 20% of the time complaining about the fact that they need to clean the data. So you're really wasting, the $1 million data scientists, I think that's what Google or Facebook pays these days for us data scientists, time and effort if you don't have this core foundation. The second thing about AI and ML is, with the growing and increase in regulations in terms of privacy and what you're allowed to use in terms of data, it's really not a good idea for you to set your data scientists on this dirty data lake of data that's not been curated for compliance, and there's no control over what they're dipping their algorithms into because they may not be allowed to. So that's very, very important. And finally, you need to close the loop between insights and outcomes. It's great to get all this great analysis with machine learning and analytics, but where are you going to put the data? The data needs to go back into your master profiles so that your business users don't have to know about the algorithms and they could segment. For instance, which are your key opinion leaders? There should be a score after your machine learning analysis has been done, written back to your core profile so that your regular business users can use it. Back to you, Chen.
Thanks, Ramon. At IQVIA as well, we're seeing that COVID-19 is really accelerating organizations' digital transformation plans, right? So face-to-face healthcare provider interactions are significantly down. Organizations are figuring out how to maintain and add value in a world where remote care, remote diagnosis, and remote monitoring is the new norm. Right, and how do they support investigators as well as patient enrollments within clinical trials is pushing this digital transformation journey. And as you said, the common theme to all of this is the very foundational asset that is data. And certainly you continue to see a lot of trend out there that your AI and ML predictions are only as good as your data. And as you said, garbage in, garbage out. So with that, Ramon, to the last question, what trends and innovations are you seeing in this space?
So interestingly, the reason why I propose that you don't mention the words MDM when talking and winning executive sponsorship is that everybody is going beyond MDM. They're moving towards a full 360-degree view that is beyond master data. Now, certainly, HCP and HCO forms the foundation of that base for which you can then shift towards either clinical trial capabilities or plan payer, but those things are table stakes. The master data, although very, very crucial, needs to be continuously enriched and augmented. And that's where interactions come into play. Interactions are really the gold, if you will, and the relationships in the graph that I described previously unlock the full potential of your master data profiles. a simple example is this, right? For key opinion leaders, in order to derive your score as to whether this person is suitable or the most appropriate, you need to understand the complex network of relationships that they have, the publications that they've written about, and the speakers, that their presentations, et cetera, all of that information is not considered master data. And traditionally, those things have been handled in data warehouses outside of the master data domain. But a full 360-degree view takes into account those transactions and interactions, the scripts written, the speaker, the articles authored, and that has brought it into the domain. As Chetan mentioned, COVID happened. It's a terrible thing. But what it's done is accelerated real time, not just in life sciences, where now you have to digitally engage with your physicians. You can't do visits as often as your sales reps used to. So real-time access to the information and the data is now critical. And this is happening, of course, in the consumer world in terms of digital purchases and so forth. The second trend that I'm seeing is privacy and regulations are getting stricter. The whole data sovereignty, which is the rules governing the data like GDPR and in California CCPA, the California Consumer Privacy Act, are now applying to data that you store anywhere. People have the option to do right to be forgotten. You have to be able to handle all of that. And your core asset, your core MDM hub will have that built in. And this notion of a universal ID is key. Before, cookies were the way that marketers tracked who you were, and those things are going away due to regulations. So you need to create a universal identifier that can be stored in your system to reflect either the people you know about or the people that you're bringing on board incrementally. And then finally, to close out, the options get more cloudy. That's because there are three big vendors with more coming on the way, AWS, Microsoft, and Google, that offer different technology foundations. And what are you to do as somebody who's just really needing to focus on the business? What do you choose? Well, to guarantee your investment and to focus on your business outcomes, you need to look to a layer that allows you to handle the master data in an agnostic technology fashion that takes advantage of the best of each of these multi-cloud technologies. And my final word is, you may have heard about customer data platforms, or CDPs. They're much in the news. Some acquisitions are occurring at very large scale, and that further emphasized the quality and the need to really get into the concept of managing your data and master data immediately. Now, but don't get burned by CDPs, because there are over 150 plus out there, and they're mainly focused on marketing initiatives. Marketing initiatives are not your enterprise. They will benefit the marketing department, but will create yet another silo of data, and it won't handle multi-domain. So back to you, Chetan.
Thanks, Ramon. Yeah, certainly CDPs are a big talk now, and we're also seeing at IQVIA that the need for near real-time integration is growing. A lot of our customers are looking to orchestrate master data in near real time within commercial, clinical, and even compliance applications. With that, to summarize, irrespective of where you are within your multi-domain MDM journey, whether it's customer data, product data, whether you're mastering patient or payer, as an organization, you need a very tactical and phased approach to these domains. But at the same time, there is a need for a broader vision for data acquisition, data management, and ultimately an MDM technology that can bring all of this data to life, right? So you can really build a 360-degree view of your business and ultimately develop insights for your entire enterprise, not for specific people, but your entire organization. With that, thank you very much, Ramon, for your time. Over to you, Maribeth.
Thank you,